I was joining in season 2 where there'd already been, established characters and the actors had already established relationships with each other and their characters. And I was like, okay, so how am I going to fit in? And I remember, I was an awkward teenager in the first place. Who wasn't? And with that haircut, it was not helping. But yeah, it just, I did not fit in. I didn't fit in. Had a few of the kids make comments like, "Oh, what are you doing back? I thought you were a daily." Or like, "Oh, aren't you an extra? Why are you in the green room with us?" And just like, yeah, really, really harsh. And then at the rap party, like, "Oh, you can't even dance. Why are you trying?" And I was like, "Wow, okay, guys, cool." Nice.
Crazy. So there was like a cliquey sort of vibe to some of those. Some of that cast, especially when I guess the ones who'd been there from the beginning.
Yeah, well, they set the computer password in our tutoring room to 8 is enough, referring to the number of cast members.
Wow. Yeah. So you had a tough experience on that show, just from an emotional standpoint. Did that leak into your role in any way? Do you feel like did because when you're experiencing like essentially bullying on a personal level, I would imagine that in some ways affecting your performance or on screen time. Do you think that impacted you at all?
I think a little bit, but I mean, as we've talked about already, as a child, you are taught to be so professional and so on it. So it didn't matter what was being said before the director called action. As soon as that call was made, as soon as we hear, rolling, I'm in it. Doesn't matter. Stop talking to me.
Well,
I'm not me anymore.
To your credit, you say that like that's like normal, like obvious behavior, but like that's like an impressive skill set to have to be able to set that aside and just like do your job, because you have to take some credit for that, because I don't think just anyone could do that. I think that takes a certain kind of actor and a certain kind of person to be able to like get through that discomfort and, do your job. I think that's like really impressive, honestly.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I didn't see it as having a choice, to be quite honest. I can do whatever when the cameras are off. I can go and hide in my dressing room. I can go and hang out with my mom. But as soon as the cameras are on, I'm here to do a job. I'm going to do a job. And then after they call cut, I'm just going to walk away. Don't talk to me. So that was the approach that I ended up having to take, because it was just the nitpicking was constant. I was like, I've been in so many scenes with you. What do you mean? What's your name? Like, mean for no reason. And then when other kids joined the cast as well, and they were accepted into the clique, I was like, okay, I don't know. Is it just me then? Is it the hair? Is it the hair? Is it the haircut? Is it the hair? I don't know.
Wow. That's so crazy to hear. I'm sorry to hear you had that experience. Like, so is there anyone from the cast who you would say like was nice to you, or you still are connected with, or is that sort of like cut them off once the show wrapped?
Well, the only person I would consider myself friends with was the girl who played Nadia, Moni Yassir, and I clearly fell out of touch with her because I went to look her up on Facebook and found out she died a couple years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so not that close, I guess. But yeah, she and I bonded because she was the girl in a wheelchair. She also was experiencing very similar comments from the rest of the cast as well, and we were both excluded together. But that means that we ended up being friends. We had sleepovers at each other's houses, even though she lived in North York and I lived in Mississauga, our poor parents. We went shopping. We saw Pirates of the Caribbean together. Like we really bonded. We saw each other a couple times after we both quit the show as well. But as happens with age and with friendships, the proximity no longer being there, it's not top of mind, and you end up drifting to other friends groups. But Lauren Collins was always a sweetheart all of the time. She and I knew each other. She's worked with, I think, everyone in my family at this point. We knew each other from babies, essentially. And I ran into her on the set of The Strain about 10 years ago, which was a vampire kind of almost like Walking Dead ripoff, but with vampires instead of zombies. And we were both playing pregnant women who were being like harvested for their blood, for their type B positive blood. And I was a featured extra because I was knitting, and that's considered a special skill. And she had a walk-on role. So we didn't see each other in the separate green rooms. And then when we got on set, I went, "Oh my God, Lauren." And she's like, "Oh my God, Katie." So still remembered me, which was lovely. She's so nice. And I think she works in a casting house now. So my sister and my friend Cassie see her all the time now.
Well, that's great that there were some positive experiences
Yeah,
there then? Because like it's especially when you're on a show for so long. I mean, you did like over like how many episodes did you do? Like 20 something episodes of
something
Degrassi?
like that. Yeah, I was on for 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's quite a long time, especially to experience this level of bullying, which seems like crazy. It's so interesting because like the my experience has always been like a familial vibe on set. It's always been like a camaraderie and like we're in this together kind of thing. And like I've I kind of heard rumors about Degrassi having some dynamics that were like
Mhm.
not quite like that. My cousin Mark Bernardi, who was on Degrassi for a short time as well, he didn't really experience that. I don't think, although he also had a hair thing happen to him. I think
You know,
they wanted to give him a haircut that he didn't like, so he just showed up with a haircut himself that he got, and he got in trouble. A story
yeah.
for another time, but yeah, it's an interesting thing that I wonder what it was about that show and that dynamic. Do you think it's like it like becomes an ego thing once you've like been on a hit show for a while and like you start to build up this ego and maybe they're worried that you're like stealing some of the starlight or something? Like what do you think that is?
I think you've hit the nail on the head because I remember going out after we wrapped the last episode of season 2. There were about 40 of us because it was all the kids and all their parents. And we went out to a restaurant and we had this long table down the restaurant. And the waiter came up to me and I was sitting next to one of the cast members. And he goes, "Oh, so what are we all celebrating here today? Is this a birthday party?" And they went, "We're on Degrassi." And he was like, "Cool. So what are we celebrating today? Is it like a birthday party?" And like the fact that they weren't the waiter wasn't completely impressed and like, oh my God, you're on Degrassi. Like the fact that they weren't recognized really seemed to chafe them. And I was like, I don't think I like you as a person. I don't mind that you don't like me.
Yeah, that's there definitely is a sense of, especially when you're a kid actor or a teen actor, excuse me, you can like become, you need people around you to ground you, because if you don't, you can get that way. It's very easy to feel self-important.
Yeah. And I think it was especially it was a big contrast for me, especially having come from Super Rupert just the year before, because I
Mhm.
don't know if you remember much about that set. Like, we had a blast. We were playing hide and seek in all the sets. We
I
were like
remember.
running behind all the facades because it was just the repainted Anne of Green Gables set. Like, we were wrestling, which was especially hilarious because Brian was like 3 times my size, and I do remember trying to get him in a show cold, and I think he just lifted me off the ground. But like the makeup artists, the hair people, the one of the directors ended up directing me on Degrassi as well, and put me in scenes that he didn't need to, that I wasn't even written into, just because we'd had that bond on Super Rupert.
Steve
And
Scaney, probably,
these
right?
days, yes,
Yes, who
my
I just had
God.
on the podcast recently, and we reminisced as well about some of that stuff. And I think
Oh
me and
my
you
God.
probably, I think if I remember correctly, were the ones who got in trouble for playing hide and seek on the set of Super Rupert. But yeah, it was such a fun environment. So to hear that like you had a different experience on Degrassi is really interesting, because personally, I've never come up against that. Even as a day player, like when I was a day player on a few small role TV series things, it was like I always felt pretty welcome. And especially as a day player, it can be difficult because you're just in and out. And so
Mhm.
it's hard to like form a connection and be friends, and then you're gone the next day. But I am fortunate enough to have never had a negative experience in that way. But I also never worked on Degrassi, so who knows? It could have just been. All this to say, I don't think it was necessarily a you thing. I think it could have just been a bunch of kids who kind of got a little big for their britches a little bit. And honestly, it's hard to even fault them for that, because it's like so much of that is like how the people around you are behaving, how
Yeah.
your parents are grounding you. I mean, it's very easy to get a big head. And I think we see that especially more pronounced in like the States, where shows become so big. But even here, like Degrassi was one of the big shows, and many people have gone on to do great things from Degrassi. And so I can understand how there would be some like, I don't know if the word is fear or like hesitation around a new person coming in. I think that, would be, I could see how that would be something that would feel threatening to those original cast members, maybe.
Yeah, I don't fault them at all. We were kids. It was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I if I if I were to see one of them in the street, I'd say hello. And I
Sure.
did run into a few cast members, like one at an audition when we were maybe 20, and one at a Jack Astor's where they were waiting tables, saw me, said hello, and then immediately gave the table to somebody else. But I've also waited on some of the other cast members at certain restaurants that I was working at the time, and like we're perfectly civil. Sure, I'll never be friends with any of them, but honestly, it was so long ago. And kids are kids. It it's true. Kids are kids. And once again, I didn't think I had the agency to go to a responsible adult and say, "Hey, this is happening to me. Can you
Right.
do something about it?" I thought, okay, I don't want to make waves. And as you mentioned, Degrassi was huge, especially at the time. I don't want to end up in the tabloids. I don't want to
Mhm.
witch hunt. I don't want to he said, she said. I'm just gonna piece. So that's why I ended up leaving, was because I was like, I get like I'm giving myself high blood pressure just thinking about having to go to set again. I don't want to do this. But I also didn't want it to get out that these cast members were not as lovely as some of their characters were.